Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks Daily Fantasy Sports app today and use code FIELD and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FIELD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Reverend, some time ago I met Sami Steigmann, and I was very taken by him. He's a Holocaust survivor, and of course, with my background as a child of survivors, I really admired his dedication to telling the story, not just to older people, but to younger people. He would travel around to different schools and say, this is not just a message of yesterday. This is a message for you today, so we don't have a tomorrow that was like yesterday. Sami Steigmann, thanks for being with the Rev and the Rabbi.
I am very honored to be with you. Okay?
Yes, you are. Okay, we'll accept that. Sami, talk about you. Give us a little update as to your background, where this all began.
Okay. First of all, I'm a Holocaust survivor, child of Holocaust survivors, motivational speaker, unlike the professional ones that speak from the academic viewpoint. I give personal example, or if I use a cliche, what it means to me. At the same time, I'm an educator, and I am also an Israeli who served in the Israeli Air Force 1962-1965. The Holocaust is not a Jewish issue. It's a universal. It is a humanitarian issue. And we have to remember one thing. It started with the Jews, but it did not end there. The Holocaust must be taught forever and ever, because from my perspective, it's the only example or the best example that can teach people what hate can do to a person, to a group of people, to a nation, and to the world. At the same time, before I will go any further, I want to talk about the October 7th. With your permission, if that's okay.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so what happened in October 7th, I went through the gamut of emotions. I never thought as a Holocaust survivor that I will witness something, the Jew hatred, that is not only here in the United States, but worldwide. I was not surprised, okay? I actually expected, okay, what happened on October 7th. What shocked me was their brutality. And people try to make comparisons with the Nazis, and please don't. Okay, even the Nazis were not that brutal. Okay, if you really have to make comparisons, compare it to the brutality of ISIS. My parents and I were deported by the Romanians, not by the Germans, and I will explain later why. At the same time, being only a year and a half, I was subjected to medical experiments. The side effects, I felt them all my life, every single second. I still feel them and will feel them for the rest of my life. But I learned to live with the pain. I used extremely addictive, very powerful opioids that it affected my lifestyle. And I learned about 45 years plus to learn without painkillers. Okay, the other thing is that I want to say, in my particular case, I have suffered and suffered from head, neck, shoulders, and back. They could not find a cure in my particular case because it's not localized. I don't know where it starts, how long it will be there, where it will go, the intensity of the pain. Okay, so I had to learn, okay, to live with it. Surgery is not in my vocabulary. The other things also that I want to say is we have to understand that the Holocaust, okay, the importance of it, okay, during the Nazi regime, Jews died because we did not have a country. On Yom HaZikaron, our national Memorial Day, We remember the people that died, and even today, okay, that fought and died for us to have a country. Okay, and as a Holocaust survivor, I am absolutely shocked of the Jew hatred that is worldwide. In some of the most prestigious campuses in this country, some of the brightest young people that we have, future leaders of this country and the world, when they will graduate, they will become educated idiots. And for Iran, they are useful idiots. And I want to remind everybody, because that's important in talking about the Holocaust. In every generation, they try to annihilate us. We prevailed. What's happening right now in the Middle East, we will prevail, we will win. And for the world, I have a very strong message. We are here to stay, whether you like it or not. Am Yisrael Chai. Now, Rabbi, I will allow you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say what I wanted to say.
Well, I will allow the Reverend to have the floor now.
Right.
Okay.
You think about speaking to someone like Sami, you're talking about an eyewitness, but also a victim and a survivor. I mean, we have all of these adjectives to describe his experience. But I would love for you to speak to the fact that anti-Semitism was the basic tenet of Nazi ideology. Talk about that ideology. Why the Jew? Why the Jew?
Why the Jew?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it started. First of all, I want to tell you, I am not a victim. I have never felt like a victim. I was always a survivor. Okay, and that's what I teach the young people.
Excellent.
Okay, never consider yourself a victim, because you may not be able to achieve whatever you want. Always think and act as a survivor. And the whole world is in your hands. Now, what happened is it started with Christianity, believe it or not. Christianity, all the people, Jesus and the apostles and everybody, they were Jews. Now, how do you create a new religion and differentiate yourself from the religion that you came from? So they had to vilify, the Jews. Obviously, initially it was religious, then it became economic, depending on the time that we went through. Okay, today it's Israel, today it's Zionism. Now, there is a virus that will never be eradicated. Bullying, bigotry, Jew hatred, hate, racism, and ideology. The only way that we can do it is only through education. And from my perspective, my mission in life is an acronym of a Hebrew word, emet, which means truth, to educate the next generation, to motivate them to be the best that they can be, to empower them to become upstanders. All the tragedies in the world happened because the world stood by and did nothing. So it's not sufficient to be knowledgeable. We have to become active. We have to take example from Martin Luther King Jr., who just celebrated, his day. We are not united, and we have to bring other groups of people. And one of the most important things from my perspective, the media has to be with us. And if you want, I will tell you about a national rally that was basically, from my perspective, a complete failure, called No Fear. If we have the time, I would.
Sami, let me get back to something you said. You said education is the answer. Education is the answer. The German people were highly educated. The Nazism in Germany was perpetrated by people who had degrees, who had diplomas.
Intellectuals,
correct.
yeah.
Right.
That is the ideology. That is the ideology. The difference between Hamas and the Nazis. They tried, to hide, their crimes. At the same time, they had an ideology. Hamas is pure hate. What's happening in the Middle East is a war between evil and good. And we have to remember that.
Yeah, let me respond to the Christian role in this, because for the first 300 years of Christianity, the Christians were persecuted. I mean, Gentiles became the major portion of the Christian faith and Christian religion, but it's not until it became the state religion of Rome that it began to take on certain perspectives and intertwine with certain ethnicities and pagan understandings. So it's how the scripture and how Jesus was interpreted, or should I say misinterpreted, in many, many centuries later after his life here on earth. You have someone like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who gave his life to push back against Nazism and that whole ideology that was perpetrated against the Jewish people. So I think it's important that we understand that there are those who can take a religious belief system, all right, and abuse it and misuse it to justify their political or social agendas. And this is what was done. The Jews were marginalized within Roman society. They couldn't vote. They couldn't own property. They were the first to experience what we call ghettos today. That didn't begin with African Americans.
Right.
It began with the Jewish people. So I think it's important to understand that religion of itself can be good, but what men do with religion or in the name of religion, we need to separate.
But extend that
Rabbi?
to education.
Exactly.
But extend that to education. If you only know science and there's no moral component to that education, science can be deadly, right?
Yeah.
You have to.
As a matter of fact, I tell the teachers, the crimes were committed by the educated people. And what I'm saying to them is teach the young people not only, their minds, also teach them their heart. And that is very, very important.
It's interesting, Rev, that Sami said Jews didn't have a country, and that made them very vulnerable. And, the thought of extermination, expulsion. Now they have a country, and they still have the threat, of being destroyed. So whether you have a country, you don't, having a country obviously is of great value because you have a place that will protect you. But even by having a country, it doesn't mean it's going to diminish the hatred.
Right.
I wrote that down. I think that was a powerful statement.
The interesting part is they say they are against Israel, but they're not talking about Israelis.
Yeah.
They are talking about Jews worldwide. So and this is, we have to be very precise with the words that we are using. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. People say the area that is west, of Jerusalem, east of Jerusalem, they call it West Bank. A Jewish leader, Prime Minister, used the word West Bank. We are indigenous to the land. We should use it, Judea and Samaria. We come from Judea. But if for political reason you don't want to use it, call it disputed territories. And take a look at the difference between disputed territories, Judea and Samaria, or West Bank. When you use the word West Bank, the first thing that comes to mind is occupation, confrontation. Nothing can be resolved. If you use Judea and Samaria, acknowledging that we are indigenous to the land, which means that we cannot occupy. Italians cannot occupy Italy. Iranians cannot occupy Iran. We cannot occupy our land. But when you use disputed territories, that implies that if both sides are willing to sit and to talk, they come to a resolution. And that's why words are extremely important. We have to be precise.
Yeah.
That's good. That's very
Precise
good.
with the
Sammy,
words.
the Reverend and I wanted to have you on the air because tomorrow is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and it recalls the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau. And people, and I must say, people who are not only Jews, but people from all the different backgrounds and beliefs come together in so many communities to say it happened to them, it could have happened to us, and to prevent it from happening to anyone else, we have to speak together as loudly and as morally and as clearly as we can.
With two conditions. Number one, we have to speak with one voice. We speak with too many voices and it's lost in the translation. And the second one, we have the media in our side. Without the media, nothing will happen. And I can give you an example, if we have the time, about the national rally in D.C. called No Fear.
All right, we have about 3 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Please go ahead, Sammy.
You want me to tell you about it? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what happened is there was a national rally. They expected several 100,000 people from all over the country. Okay, only 3,000 people came. Okay, they had the senator. They had a representative. They had wonderful speakers. Not a single Jew was there, Jewish leader. Not the media was not there. And I have asked people, have you heard of the national rally called No Fear? Nobody knows. Without the media, and this is what I'm trying to stress, we have to speak with one voice, okay, not with many voices, one single voice. Take example from Martin Luther King Jr., okay, and bring the media. Without the media, our message will be lost.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true.
Sami Steigmann.
Wow.
A Holocaust, as you said, not just a witness, but someone who is a teacher. And when I met him, I was taken by the fact that he devotes his life to speaking to young people.
Right.
Because if we don't reach them, then we have failed.
Yeah. Well,
and
education, like you said,
to anybody. I spoke to 1,200 students. Not a single Jewish student was there. I even spoke at the church of what do you call it? Scientology. Everybody has to know. Half of the world population does not know that the Holocaust happened. 1/3 believe it's a myth or exaggerated. And young people, from my personal experience, I can tell you unequivocally, they're totally clueless.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate that, but I love what you said about education. And yeah, they were educated. They were intellectuals that crafted that kind of an ideology in Germany. But at least with education, people are exposed to words and ideas that should touch the conscience and evoke some type of moral standard in terms of their actions. And that's what we hope for, that's what we pray for. Sammy, it just great having you on the program. God bless you for all that you have been through and can be such a strong voice and advocate to keep this in remembrance. Thank you for being on the program.
Stay well.
Thank you.
Stay strong.
Thank you for inviting me.